Good morning. So we're gonna do one of my favorite things to do, make espresso. So every morning I have a few cups of espresso. I just do single shots, black, don't put anything in them. I'm obsessed. I was just a regular pour over guy. I was getting into some better coffee beans, but not really getting into a better brew. So anybody who doesn't know, espresso is actually just the way you make it. It's not beans. If they say, oh, well, you know, here's a bag of espresso beans, it would usually be not beans, but here's a bag of espresso. It would usually be because of the grind. The grind is a much finer grind. So I'll show you guys what I got here. I have a pretty basic system. It's nothing crazy. So I got a Delonghi espresso machine. It has the ability to steam milk, make cappuccino and stuff like that. I'm not super into it. I've messed around with it a little bit. It is good, but I can't get over just a plain old shot of espresso. So you flip up the lid. This is your water reservoir here. So I just filled it. I have a reverse osmosis water system. So that actually means that I have tasteless, scentless water. Like it's just like distilled water. So I just use what's in that tap. The system goes under the counter. That's the tank, the filters, pre-fills the tank. Anyway, it's just pure water. It's really just wet. It's the best way to explain it. It's wet. So anyway, so this is what I got here. It comes with your portafilter. Pretty basic. Feels pretty good. I do find there's a bit of movement here. So I'm trying to be very careful with it because I don't actually know enough to know whether or not I can just buy replacements of these. I know I probably could from the company, but just overall, not 100% sure. So I was making a lot of double shots, but I find I get a more consistent cup when I do the single shot. So I've already cleaned it out after every time I've used it. I've never actually had to put a pin through the very, very small hole in the bottom. But that's how you would clean it. There we go. Snaps in there pretty good, as you can tell. So now take the small screen. Really, I don't know the explanation of this, but I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say it's because the coffee grinds would just clog that hole immediately. So, pop the small screen in, make sure the 3 ridges inside. See, there's one here, one here, and one here. Make sure the 3 of them. Click it into place. Now, what we're gonna do is make our espresso. So we've preheated the machine. It has a ready light on it. Tells you when it's ready to go. This is the actual scoop plus tamper that comes with the machine. I have not yet bought a replacement tamper. I've been looking, there's some cool designs and stuff, so I'm not really sure what I'm gonna get, but this is working fine for now. If you are buying a replacement tamper, anytime you wanna do that, just make sure you know the measurements. This is 51 millimeters. So that means when I buy a replacement, it has to be 51 millimeters because it needs to fit in there. I can't buy, like a lot of them are like 58, but blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying that you just really want to make sure that you know the size so that you can fit in there and make a nice snug tamp. Now, a lot of guys talk about weighing your espresso beans and stuff. I'm not that into it, and I don't fully understand it, to be honest, because I think it's 1 to 2, so it's 1 gram for every 2 water grams. I'm not 100% sure. So all I really do, this will be my last cup of the morning. It's just 1 scoop. So I'm doing a single shot. So 1 is going to be the single scoop. I'm going to do it over the sink. Just try to minimize the mess. So pour it in, tap it down. So you want it to be fine enough that you get small clumps. I don't know if you guys can see that. There you go. Mine doesn't clump up as much as I'd like. I've heard somebody say that you want it to be the consistency of between salt and icing sugar. I find I'm much closer to salt consistency. So this grinder, although it does make a really fine, it does make a very fine grind, it's just not best case. So now we just put it flat on the counter. You take your tamper, you go nice and even. You make a firm push, right? And then at the last second, just do a little twist. Make sure it's evenly done. Wipe your tamper off. So if you look, my puck is pretty tightly ground down there. You don't want it to be so tight that it won't move like at all, because then you won't get any water come through the system. But you also don't want it to be so loose that it pours straight through, because it is coming out under pressure. So if it comes straight through, what you're gonna end up with is just coffee pouring straight out, and it's very weak. So you want it to be very consistent and very tight so the pressure works. Now, before we actually make it, see, our system's been ready for a few minutes now. And so before you actually pour your coffee, you're going to want to turn the system on and just run some water through. This is going to get rid of any grounds possibly from the last round, or it's going to, most importantly, pump water, hot water, through the system so that all the lines are heated up as well. Here we go. So the water feels nice and hot. As you see, the light went off because the heating element has cooled down a little bit. So I am just going to let that ready itself again. So it generally takes no time at all, a couple minutes, a couple seconds. Okay, it just came on, so it's ready now. So I get my glass, just a small espresso glass. Put it there. So it's a single shot. If it was a double, I would do it like this, but it's not. So I'm gonna take one away, put it back there. I'm gonna center my cup. So the reason I have my cup ready already is because one thing we don't want to mess around with is we don't want these grinds, you know, they're fresh grinds, but we don't want these grinds to be on that hot plate for very long before we start pouring. So we get everything ready, bring it in. So it's on and it's over, nice and tight. It's still pretty firm to pull over. Okay. Now we're going to turn it on. Very nice even pour. So if I had a finer grind, I forget what the name of it is, there's like a froth at the top of your espresso, that would be much more golden. But it still gets the point across. It's hot, but that is so delicious. It's so good. This step is the most important step you could possibly go through. Sit down and enjoy it. The espresso machine has to be cleaned, right? As fast as possible. It's probably one of the most important steps, is to make sure the espresso machine is cleaned immediately. Any second now, I am gonna do it. This is just so good. I'm a little bit obsessed. Any second now. All right, let's do it. Almost done. Okay, so for the cleanup, the main key steps are, so off, bring that over. So this is your grinds. They call it your puck. So we take that. I just use a small knife because I don't have the really cool espresso tools. I have an indoor compost dish here. So I just take it, tap it out. Make sure 90% of the grinds are out anyway. Then I make sure that I rinse it out really well. Now, there's a little tab here to grab your screen. So I use my super fancy latte making tool. Put it on the tab, use my thumb. Just makes it much easier to pull out. Then I just pull on that, get that out. So for this guy here, I'm really just rinsing them out. I learned a long time ago not to use a lot of soaps or anything like that on your coffee things. I don't even use, like maybe every third or fourth wash on my thermos that I would take to work, I would use actual soap. I try to avoid soaps and things because I find anything plastic, and if you see the internals to this cup are plastic, that's what helps the pressure build. It's going to pour in through here, has to go through the grooves, then it comes out through the two spouts. So because of that, it's necessary. It keeps the direction proper and it keeps the pressure. Because of that, that would absorb a lot of soap taste. So once again, rinse it out. Pour it off. Always take a look just to see if you do have anything caught up in the pinhole. I do not. Then your screen. Rinse it out. I think if you do this after every round, you never really have issues with the machine. This is a very inexpensive machine. It's not top of the line by any stretch. And I do think, I mean, with any inexpensive machine, you're gonna run into a little bit of problems. I think as long as you maintain it in this way, you won't. So, we get our screen, goes back in there. It's clean and dried off. Close the lid. So I did turn the machine back on. The reason I did that is because I'm gonna take our clear cup, our rinse cup. I'm just gonna run, once again, just run some hot water through. If I was to make an Americano, this is how I would do it. I would have my espresso there in the base of the cup, run some hot water. That's an Americano. But I'm not. See, there is some grounds in there. You just want to make sure that you get that stuff cleaned out. I'm going to turn this off so that the plate cools down. And then I'm going to use my bar cloth that I keep here. I'm going to use that to wipe it out. But that would be it. Ready to go again. It is delicious. All right, you guys have a great day. I love espresso. Water stored up in here, and these here are your cups. Damn it. Now see, my puck is